Hi guys, Leland from Riker's Reptiles. Today we're going to talk about what's better for you, a hatchling or maybe an adult snake. The pros and cons to both, and kind of what to expect with the adult or with the baby. Okay? So stay tuned and we'll get into it. Okay, so I would say that there's definitely pros and cons to both buying adults and buying hatchlings. So it just depends on, I think, if you're going to be breeding or if you're just going to be having them as pets, could kind of help you make the decision. If it's just for a pet, um, either way, it's fine. With the hatchling, you're going to be being able to see it grow up. You're going to be able to see them change because a lot of different morphs will change, especially like coral glows, because I deal with a lot of coral glows and pieds and things like that. And coral glows will their colors will change, their patterns will change, they'll get spots. So if you're cool, you want to see all those cool changes with the snake, and you don't want to miss out on that kind of stuff, then definitely get the hatchling. But if you don't really mind about that kind of stuff and you want to get a more established snake, then maybe the adult's for you. The pros to getting an adult is you could buy the biggest cage ready for it, and you don't have to move it up or get bigger hides or get bigger equipment or get bigger caging. You can just get the big cage to put it in, and you're done. Less expense, I think. But the overall expense for purchasing the snake is going to be a little higher because adults do cost a little bit more money. So with the hatchling, I think the nice thing about the hatchling is you get to see it grow, you get to see it change, you get to establish the feeding habit, and that's probably the number one thing for me is the establishing the feeding habits and knowing what that snake does from day one, because some snakes they go into little bits of fasts, because sometimes the previous person who had the snake doesn't tell you exactly what they were eating. Sometimes they're not forthright or upfront with what they've been feeding them. I've had at least 3 snakes that weren't being fed the prey that they said they were being fed, and then after trial and error, I found out what they were really being fed, and found the old ad from the previous person who had sold it to them, and they were really being fed ASFs. So there's that kind of stuff happens with the adult snakes more than with the hatchlings. I think with the hatchlings, they're a little bit easier to get onto other prey. From my experience, I've noticed that getting a live feeder to go on frozen thaw is easier when the snake's little. So that could be something you'd want to look out for. Also, who you buy your snakes from. If you're buying a hatchling and you want it to be like already kind of broken in and held and not so skittish and running away from you all the time, maybe get it from a breeder like me who holds my snakes and holds the snakes before the customers get them and changes the prey type for them. And like I even got a snake in the other room where I got it in a terrarium, and I'm trying to get it broken into the terrarium because that's how it's going to live. And it's going to be here for a while because I have to hold on to the snake for maybe another month or 2. So I want to get it ready so when it transitions, it's boop, easy for them. So there's those things to think about. Sometimes the adult snakes, you can get them and they weren't held. That some people have 300-400 snakes. They can't go holding all their snakes. That's not feasible. It's understandable. But you're going to get a snake as an adult that sometimes hasn't been held. This snake, I wasn't too sure how much it was held. It wasn't super stiff when I picked it up. It didn't hiss a lot. It was pretty mild as far as those kind of things. It wasn't constantly trying to make a run for it. It is right now because this is a daytime video. It's probably, I don't know, about 5-6 o'clock here in California, and so this snake would still be chilling until probably like 7 or 8 tonight. So usually he just is really chill. This is Luke Skywalker. He's a leopard, Mojave, fire, pos, double het, pied, and clown. So he's a really nice snake, father of several of my clutches. And all the babies that this guy produced were just insane. I wanted to keep them all, but I couldn't. So anyhow, it's the habits, it's the feeding, kind of knowing what you're getting into on the bigger snake with the housing and all that, you could just do that one time instead of doing it multiple times. If you're displaying in like a terrarium situation, you're going to have to grow that with the snake. So those expenses might, eclipse the other expense of buying the bigger snake. So just depending on how you're going to enjoy your snake, if it's just going to be for pleasure, or if you're going to be also breeding your snake, then you're going to want to consider then also the genetics you're getting into. And it's sometimes very hard to find certain genetics, and you have to get an adult, So then sometimes you just have to, take extra time with that snake and hold it for 20-minute intervals so it knows that you are not gonna come after it every time you open the tub. You're not there to attack it. And they do eventually mellow out. I have two. One of them's gotten pretty mellowed out. I have another one, Karen. She is not, I don't think, ever going to mellow out, and so I don't want to stress her out by holding her and just being around her. She's already 6 years old, so she's kind of set in her ways. So I just kind of let her be and kind of go off of her cues, what she's telling me with her body language. Every once in a while, she's cool, and she'll let me actually hold her for a few minutes. But the rest of the time, she's just hissing and running away and scared, and that's stress, and that's not good for the snake, to hold. So I don't need to hold her. It's not something I have to do, so I'm not going to stress her out by doing that, but I'm going to give her space and her food and her water, make her life wonderful while she's here, and give her the best life she can get. So basically, it's personal preference, just different things to think about when you're getting a snake, whether to get a hatchling or an adult snake. I'm going to pause this real quick and check something. I'll be right back. Okay, I wanted to grab just a little hatchling. Now this one's going to be probably around 200 grams, just to get you an idea of how small a little hatchling can be. I've gotten one that's probably half this weight. It was 63 grams when I got it, and now she's massive. She's about 1,500 grams, but this one right here is about 250 grams. This is a little beautiful Mojave pied het ghost female. This is also Enchi, and she's a holdback. But for a little snake like this, you're gonna have to feed it a little bit more than you're feeding the adult snake. I forgot to mention that you do feed more. So I usually feed these little guys up until about 300 or 400 grams every 5 days, and then appropriate size meals, not too much bigger than their body, but very close to the size of their body, width of their body, and then the width of the rat. So I just move them up as they grow, but then it's every 7 days. Once they hit like between 300 to 500 grams, I'll move them up to weekly, and then after that it's about every 10 days if I can get a prey a little bit bigger than their body. So adult snakes 3 times a month, versus maybe 6 or possibly 7 times a month with these little guys. So you'll be making more trips to the pet store with the baby snake. Then the other thing is you really know what you're getting when you get the adult, as far as how is it going to look. Just because usually they'll, by a year to a year and a half, they're typically faded or changed to similar patterns of what they're going to stay looking like. So there's that to think about. So anyhow, if you like the video, please subscribe, hit like, give me a thumbs up, share it, and then also if you could enter in my contest, if you want to win a free ball python, you can enter in it. It's going to be ending pretty quickly, and I'll show you the snake that we're going to be doing with that one. Let me put down this little girl here. All right, okay, stay there, don't go anywhere. Okay, so this is the winning snake, named YouTube. And here he is. He was sleeping. So we have Enchi, Mojave, het ghost, a het pied male. Hey, Jen. You want to see your girl? You want to see your baby?